Hey guys, I'm going to be answering your questions about raw veganism today. My name is Sky. I've been raw vegan for 4 years. I cured 32 years of chronic illness, had over 60 surgeries, had 7 major organs removed. And this live is surrounded or a lot about, well, I'll say it one more time, the Raw Vegan Bundle. You can get it now. Support your journey. 32 new ebooks and courses. All for just $50. It's all new content. It's worth $1,400. Look, here's some of these beautiful. I'm going to make a recipe today, but here's some of the beautiful recipes you can make. There's pizzas, sushi. I'm going to be making that viral date bark there today, or Middle Eastern date bark. There's curry. There's Lyssa's deconstructed sushi recipe there. And my ebook is in this bundle. It's called Dinners. They are beef tacos there, all raw vegan. And yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet, go grab it. It's only available for 5 more hours. So I will, as I always do in these lives, get bundle here. I will put it below. I think it's in the description, but I never know. So definitely something to go check out. The recipe I'm making today is from the bundle. I've got dates here. I've got pistachios. I will move the camera around so you can see me create this masterpiece. I've got some berries there. Let's get into it. Let's get into making this date bark. This is really simple. This is from the World Favorites ebook in the bundle. So I contributed, and many people did, recipes to this. Let's move this here. And from recipes from around the world. And let me move this down here for you guys. There we go. Computer out of the way. Now, how this date bark recipe starts is you're going to get a baking tray and it's going to be lined, because this makes it all easier, because we're going to freeze this beautiful masterpiece. The first thing we do is get some medjool dates. The full recipe, as I said, is in the bundle, and we're just going to put these dates, you can see, in the bottom here, kind of overlapping. Can you see that there? They're just overlapping, and squish them down as we go. I've also got a glass here somewhere to really squish them down so they really combine as we go. Yeah, my mum actually helped me come up with this recipe. I love making recipes from like viral recipes. This was going viral on TikTok and Instagram a while ago, and making them raw vegan. So this has actually got more, well, you can make the date bark any way you like. You just push them down. So open them up. There's no seeds in here. And you simply just push them down into the tray. And keep squishing these in here, kind of filling up the gaps there too in this, because we want it all to be like the bottom layer. Yeah, see how many more we can fit. I feel like I could fit more before I put the paper in, or maybe squish one in there. And here, they should all combine a bit better now. We're going to get a glass and smudge these all in. So they're all kind of combined like that. Not too difficult. There we go, all down the bottom there. Next part of this recipe is there is a raspberry layer to this. Now, you just put some raspberries. I had these frozen. I always froze my berries. Oh, that top one looks a bit dodgy. Okay. Take out the dodgy berries, of course, and put these in straight into the blender. And I'll grab, that's not quite enough, so we'll grab some more. There's like another dodgy one. Pull the dodgy berries out, as I said. Okay, we're just going to blend the berries. Bear with me here. Oh, not plugged in. It's not very organized of me. Okay, put this in here. Oh, that was even the wrong. No, that's right. There we go. Pull this forward. Nice and easy. Just blitz it up. It doesn't have to be. You could probably mush it if you wanted to. Didn't want to use the blender. So we got this back. Hey, Lisa. Okay. So you can blend it like really smooth. I keep mine a little chunky. And we're just going to pour this, oh, yum, all over the top of the dates. Yeah, just like that. So that's the second layer. Now, yeah. Now we're just going to like smooth that out a bit over the top. Get into the corners. Okay. Make sure it's a bit even. There we go. All right. The next layer to this is, hey, Koala Mama. Okay. Now, this is supposed to be almond butter, but I had a fresh batch of peanut butter made. It's so interesting when I get the peanuts fresh from the farm of a friend of mine. It's white and it's real. Like I warmed it in the dehydrator to soften it, but it doesn't soften. It's weird. Like when you actually have true nuts that are just, you make the nut butter yourself. Anyway, I've got fresh peanut butter and it doesn't matter which nut butter you use. I did use almonds in this recipe, but you know, this is just nut butter and water. And we're just going to drizzle the nut butter and water concoction over the top. Oh my God, this looks so good. I have to be patient. It must freeze. I'm going to miss coming on here, though I've got so many interviews and like podcast things lined up, so you won't really miss me. I'll be on most days, but I am going to be a little bit quiet for the rest of the week after all this bundling. So this looks amazing, actually, if I do say so myself. Just drizzle that. As I said, it can be any nut butter. So interesting that the peanuts is white, but yeah, that's peanut butter. Okay, so we've got that layer on. Next layer is some pistachios. Just a few on top. Just some raw pistachios. And then maybe some there. Yeah, okay. The final touch is I have got carob powder here, but you can use raw cacao powder if you like, but I'm using carob, and we just put this over the top, this chalky type layer. So it's got like a bit of a chalky bite to it. Whistle while you work. Okay. There we go. And that's all the stone things that were too chunky to go through. Oh, hang on. Let me get a serviette, a tea towel. Okay, guys, that's how you make it. It's so simple. What was that, 5 minutes, if that? A couple minutes. And that just goes into the freezer. And everyone's freezer, I guess, freezes at a different time. I will post this, whether frozen or not, before the bundle ends. And I know it's late for some people, but for me, it's only midday. So this should freeze in a few hours. If not, I'll be eating it sticky and chewy in a reel. But yeah, that's it. So I'm going to put that in the freezer. And that concoction will taste amazing. Okay, so that's the food part, and that is a recipe from the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. You get the bundle for another, 5 hours now, and then it's gone forever. You have to go get the ebooks and courses from each content creator, and it gets expensive. So it's better to just get the bundle, enjoy the recipes, and yeah, so as you can see, that recipe was really simple. I like simple. Because then if you want to like make it fancier, you can. I mean, you can put drizzle chocolate on top or whatever else you like, but I like the basics to be quite simple. So that's so cool that you can get fresh peanuts from a farm. Australia is awesome. Yeah, so I get my produce from a spray-free biodynamic guy at the farmer's market who I'm friends with, and I text him every week and I tell him what I want. And it's so interesting. It's completely different. He actually has made me raw peanut butter with his peanut butter machine because he roasts them usually, but he's made me some. And even the consistency is so different from anything from a shop. And the nuts are like, I took them to one of the raw food meetup gatherings, and oh my God, everyone's like, where's your produce from? The fruit and the nuts. And it's because it's also fresh. But yes, so I made that. Then I don't think he's got time to make me nut butters anymore. So I just buy a big bag and put them in the food processor. And the consistency is so different. It's like, oh God, what is it? It's almost like porridge. Like they're not, I guess, because heat can really denature the nuts and then the oil splits. It's like spongy. But yeah, so I've got a whole heap of questions on a page of like videos to do. People ask me questions all the time as a raw vegan. And why is this not blind? That's a bit better. And I keep them all thinking I'll do videos, but I've got a whole list. So I thought I'd go through some of the topics or questions. So the first question I have is, what inspired you to become a raw vegan? So that's an actually interesting one because, I mean, if you know me, you know that I was in a situation where I was extremely sick, could barely read or write, could barely get up, and I'd been very, very sick, and I was eating cooked foods, and I just couldn't cook the food. And then I noticed that I could get up on raw foods. And then every time I had like a cooked meal, I just couldn't get up. But as to what inspired me to, like, because I got on Instagram because I could only look at pictures. And so Instagram was something I could look at some pictures during the day. Sometimes I get overstimulated, but I could look at pictures, not really read very well. But there was all people called raw vegans that were eating these like bright salads and bright fruits. And there was girls on there that were living this lifestyle that I wanted to live. They were like by the beach eating fruit and they were happy and they glow. That was the whole thing, is when I found these raw vegans, everyone's glowing. And that inspired me straight away to become a raw vegan. Like, I think I didn't really have a choice at the time, but what inspired me was what I do now, was people just sharing like their life. And I'm like, I want to be you. And the more, it was very easy to manifest my dream life with fruits, because you're so happy, you're so grateful. Every morning you get up and you're happy, and the world is so clear, and you get abilities back that you'd lost, like even my memories, or, you know, no aches in your joints. You just constantly sit in gratitude. But that first inspiration, so I guess you could say the fruit did it. But when you come to what inspired me, I would say seeing what other people do. And it looked so natural. It didn't look forced, and it didn't look like, oh, but, you know, it fixes everything but this. That's what you get your whole life. You know, it's like, this will fix gut issues, but then there's a big disclaimer. Like, you know, individual results may vary. On this, it's like this expedition. You get to go on the raw foods and unlock your true self. And that looks different for every person. So some people can go on this, and as I said before, they might end up on a beach in Bali. Some people end up doing like juicing. Some people, like myself, do all sorts of recipes. I've done the juicing too, but, you know, you find your true, you can't hide. You become the person you were always meant to be. Hey, Donna. So yeah, I think people sharing had really inspired me. So someone said, how long have you been following a raw vegan lifestyle? So hang on, someone's asked a question here. Thank you, Sky. You are so beautiful and can't wait to read your ebook. What is your best tip on how to start the first week on raw? That's a good question. I'll answer that one. I'm so excited for you to read my book. Let me bring this up. So I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, I did a live on how to start a raw vegan diet. So it'd be good to go on lifestyle, go and watch that. I really emphasize, where is a person at? If somebody's eating all meat and you then said, the week after, you literally just got rid of meat and processed food. Even if you make a few mistakes along the way, I think that's an achievable goal. If somebody is whole food plant-based, it's very easy to include more fruits and more raw. Don't underestimate the stepping process. So even my process started back when I got off all these medications, and I ended up on a paleo diet with like nuts and seeds and fruits and a meat dish at night. And from there I went vegan, and I was vegan for like 2 years, almost 2 years. And then I turned raw. And then as I got raw, there's different levels to raw. So I always say to someone, where are you at? What is a level of going raw? Which feels right. A huge part of this is don't traumatize yourself anymore. If we've been sick, you've lived in trauma. And getting on eating, if someone said for you now, you just got to eat apples, you just got to eat watermelon, you can end up quite traumatized. You're letting go of a lot of your past, a lot of things you're very connected to. You start getting in a negative self-talk because you're like, I don't want to do this. I'm so sick of this. If you can find a way to climb, it's like spiritual enlightenment works this way. It's a stepping process, and sometimes there's a few steps back, or you kind of hang around here. But I find in doing that, you appreciate things. You don't get, the whole thing is you don't want to sit in trauma anymore, because a huge reason that you heal is because you're not traumatized. You are, as I said, is each step I was taking, I'm like, the sun is brighter, my knees and my stomach aren't hurting, is you want to sit in that space of gratitude. If you go hardcore into this, and you just say you have a lot of detox and a lot of emotions come up, and then all of a sudden you feel really, really good, because people say they end up feeling really, really good, is it becomes almost like a drug, because there is moments where you've gone from feeling so terrible to feeling extremely good, and then you'll find those periods where you don't feel good again. So I'm a big advocate for, unless you're extremely sick, unless there's something like you're going to die, like a stage 4 cancer or something like that, or some stage 4 of a disease, is if you can, is just keep chipping away, because the knowledge and the tools that I learned as I climbed, like did the paleo and the vegan, or even before that, letting go of a huge amount of like opioids that have been prescribed. It's all been like this process, and you really discover yourself, and you discover your true strengths that are very special to you, that you'll eventually use one day doing whatever your calling is. Whatever that may be, you will get, like, whatever it is you're meant to be. All these like challenges you overcome will be these tools which are very specific to you. So that's my advice, is work out first where you're at. And as I've said, is level up from, first, if you're having a lot of processed meats, cut those out, and then sit in vegetarian type mode if that's where you've got to do. Don't be scared if you make mistakes, and then get to like a vegan, moving towards whole food, plant-based. And this can take years, but I think it's better to do it slowly, and you will feel better, but you will be able to achieve it. I would say trying to include at least one raw meal a week, at least. I would say get recipes. I find recipes amazing. Even if I don't follow the recipe exactly, it's like, oh my God, tonight I really need like sweet chili noodles or something. I'll be like, okay, there's a recipe. I don't have all of it, but I can like grate up some zucchini and put some soy sauce, and I can put some maple syrup or dates, or some veggies, because of course you want veggies in your noodle, sweet chili noodle dish. And I would just kind of like mimic, because I really think it's almost impossible to sit and breathe through cravings when you have eaten a certain way for, like in my case, 40 years. You may as well just go, this is what my body wants, I will make it raw, or high whole food plant-based. Also, I'm going to be doing some more lives soon, and we talk like to people like Kiko, who's been high raw for 20 years. And it's not always smooth sailing. Even everyone, the longer you do this, don't be hard on yourself if you call it going back, but there's always this, I don't know who it was, but spiritually, if we rise in vibrational energy with the foods we're eating, a lot of fresh fruit, and we're very enlightened, right? The knowledge and downloads we attain up there are shared as we come back down. So as you're having denser foods, maybe more dehydrated foods, maybe you have some cooked foods again, you can connect better to people on this planet when you eat like not so light. When you eat very light, you could just kind of float around in God's kingdom. So I think there's a real value in the whole kind of ups and downs, and that's kind of my take on that. So Lisa said, I'm such a good coach. Thank you. I'm glad that you like me. So, but yeah, I am a big advocate for people owning their journey. I don't think there's a blueprint for everybody. And as long as because it's hard to not conform. It's hard to not eat the crap that's advertised on bus billboards. It's hard not to eat the bread that we've eaten our whole life when we walk past a bread shop. Count those as wins. Even if you're eating like vegetarian or vegan, is if you don't go past like a real processed bread shop and you smell it, you're like, I did that. Like, I didn't go in and eat that. That's a win. All of what I coach now and teach people now are just all the things that I did on this journey as I went along. And that looks different for everybody. I do believe like talking to people and watching things like this helps. But remember, as I said, I think there is more credit and more gets done in the doing than it does in the learning. Like, don't think you can't start until you've read like 50 books. Just have more fruit or just have more raw food, and then go back to what you're doing if you need to, then come back up and look at things, but don't think it's like a block we have. We think we have to be perfect or we're going to get it wrong. And, every day, I mean, sometimes I overeat and I'm like a little bloated, and fruit goes through you pretty fast. So it's not a huge problem, but it's like we're always learning. So I think that's really important, is I think people should own their journey. Thank you. Such helpful advice. I love the thought of, as I progress, find what my calling is to help others. I would like to see more content on the connection of raw and spiritual connections. I love talking about that because I feel like the whole reason I healed, and this is like that spiritual connection, is because I was connected to something. And yesterday's was speaking about that. How did I heal on raw foods? And the day before was how to start a raw diet. But that connection literally started to rewrite or tap into some part of my psyche and my soul that had never been touched before, not in this lifetime. And with that, I seem to get my dream life. And in the living, the more you can live, the more I healed. I can't foresee that somebody just like sitting in a room eating fruit. It gets you going, but then you have to get your body connected to nature and the soul. I don't even think I knew source, God, soul until I got up onto higher raw foods. I think he came tapping. When I say the universe came tapping when I had that like break with reality and lost my memory and was in psychiatric units. For sure, I was definitely in like a different realm or dimension, and I do not wish that on anybody. But I'm not also someone who's like, you have to get on fruit so you don't experience something that severe. I believe that we as souls knew why we were coming to this planet, but once we get here, we have no memory, because in the reality of what we know, that same consciousness does not exist. We're in 3D, 4D, possibly 5D for some people, which is like that more spiritual realm, but you are stuck in linear time. So we have to, it's like, we have to wait for everything to unfold. But the lessons the soul learns on this journey is, to me, why we're here. Like, raw foods helps us, meditation helps us, but some of the biggest lessons I've learned are in my biggest falls, like as in like the worst things that have happened to me. My soul or me has learned the biggest lessons. So it's really about the tools and the knowledge you use as you come out. But I remember when I healed myself, my goal was to make my life a retreat. Like, there's no reason everyone can't do that. Besides, the job you do, Sky, should be so enjoyable. It's just part of a retreat. Like, as in, you get up, you go for a walk or a run, do Pilates. Some people it's yoga, come back, have like your water or your juice. And then I'd love to say I'm still journaling and meditating, but I'll get back there. Usually I'm checking emails. I'll talk to some friends online. I'll get stuck into my work, which I absolutely love. But for a period of time, it wasn't like that. It was if I was awake or could get up out of bed, it was get your butt into nature. Get that bottom on the ground, feet on the ground, under a tree, feet in the water. You've got everything I used to heal was free, except for the fact I didn't grow my own food and had to buy it from a shop. Every tool you pay for tap water, I guess, like my shower, I just didn't have hot anymore. I did. And then towards the end, I turn it cold. You give yourself some cold to lower inflammation. What else was I using? Most of the things were like flowers, or I would just sit in nature, which is free. Because that's kind of, you get to that rock bottom, that's all you got. But I'm very grateful for my downtime, so I can share now to inspire others to find their way through, and don't discredit that most of the important things you learn are probably going to be in your darkest hours. Okay, so someone's asked, what does a typical day of eating look for me? Now, this is something that can help others. That is constantly changing. Throughout this 4 years, I've been a raw vegan, but I eat completely differently. You'll even look in the raw vegan bundle at the moment, which is only available for 5 more hours. We're all raw vegan, but we eat very differently. And I think that is a reflection of consciousness and soul, but we can call that nutritional needs. People will want different things at different times. I got in this and did a shed back. So I was like, right, Sky, if you got to a point of where just a few weeks ago you're on like alcohol and cigarettes and heavy medications, and you were ordering like a vegan burger here and there, imagine what you can do now. Like, imagine what you can do. How far can you take this? So I then started cutting things out, where I was cutting out like salt and nuts and seeds and spices, until I'm basically just on fruit for a couple of years. Now, in that exercise, what I learned was I got to know myself better. Like, there was no supplements, there was nothing, just like coconut oil on the skin and apple cider vinegar for the hair with some rosemary oil. It was so simple. I feel like I really got to know myself, or like it was like a real reset. But over time, I got a lot of problems, which I think I had to personally experience and flush out, where I get very headstrong, like, this is the way, this is it. Whereas now that I have like salts and nuts and seeds and spices and other things back in, I feel very good, like very like normal and grounded. That doesn't take away that I do enjoy doing a few days on juice or fruits, but I feel like that stage of like that intense, like, you can call it detox, but I feel like for me, it was just getting to know myself, getting rid of everything else, and getting to know me, and having this like reset from who I used to be. And I would love to say I've become a new person, but I feel like now the raw foods have helped me assimilate who I was most of my life, and all the things I've learned, and who I was, and getting my memories back. And with the person I became with the raw foods, like, I think there was a real escapism when I first started eating raw foods, like, as in, like, you can eat a fruit and go outside and not really think about anything else. You are processing and healing, because it's like all these new connections. But I feel like to live on this planet, we learn a lot of valuable lessons, and I need to be where I am now to have those. So what do I eat in a day? At the moment, I usually start with a juice. That can be from 8 o'clock a.m. or maybe I have it at 10 a.m. And then I'm back on fruit. So I did for like the last year, a lot of greens and only berries. I did keto for a while, and thank goodness now I can have a little bit of papaya, and I can have some persimmons. So as you can see, is when I did a lot of fruit, all of a sudden then for the next year and a bit, my body swung back and said, all I want is veggies and greens. So that's why I want people to listen to their bodies more, because I feel like when you push through and you keep pushing through and you keep pushing through and you ignore, of course, of small periods of time, you can do it to heal. But when you keep doing it and don't listen, your body has a swing back. And for a lot of people, I think, that go up quite high raw, their swing back at the start can be quite far until they kind of plateau out. So don't discredit any of the like steps you. So then I'll kind of snack on fruit. My main thing each day is to have like one of the meals from the raw bundle, or I love creating. Like, I could probably come on here every day and I'm like, today I'm throwing this in and this in and this in and this in, and it's all based on what I feel like. So that's why, like, as a raw vegan chef, is take the recipes and add a bit more chili if you want, add a bit more onion powder, add a bit more zucchini, like, have fun with it, because it's like this. I feel like the food I eat is a representation of me. And for some reason, I'm a salad girl. So love the hydration of fruit. I think because the way I've had my stomach, duodenum and top of intestines removed, I do struggle with sweetness. I get dumping syndrome where it goes straight through the intestinal walls very quickly. But I do appreciate the energy, the clarity, the spiritualness of the fruit, but I seem to be a salad girl. Like I think about all of that and it really excites me. So I'll have one of those a day. Then I really try not have another meal, not because I have an eating disorder, but because I have no stomach. I find with having a lot of fiber and a lot of fluids in all the food is I just cause myself pain. And I don't seem to now, especially now, my weight it's not like it dramatically dropped off by not having an extra meal. So I used to eat probably one more meal and I was just noticing I was always swollen. But also I do think the reason I always ate, that was like this coping mechanism. I think I had learned to cope with life through medications and through numbing or through having a cigarette, like in that real oral fashion, where I got through what I did by, I think, consuming foods. But the raw foods will teach you, even if somebody else doesn't, you will learn eventually with the raw foods. And I mean, it's not like it harmed me in some way. The worst thing that's probably happened is my iron level dropped off quite low when I got high into fruits and juices. Now I'm eating what I call like a very normal meals, just not like as much as I used to. So it's all about listening to your body. But that's where I'm at now. But I have done it very differently, where I've eaten like a couple mono meals and then like maybe like savory fruits at night. That was kind of my go-to for a couple years. And then I did lots of juicing last year. Most of the day was juicing and then a salad at night. But my iron was very low. All I wanted was green juice and hydration, which you get very dehydrated. And the greens is where my body's going to want iron from. So yeah, it's like listen to your body is what I say when it comes to the eating part. So what else question I've got here? What benefits have you experienced since going raw vegan? I would love to say all these physical things, right? But they just went so quickly, like the tachycardia, the dissociation, the PTSD, the bleeding. I was bleeding from everywhere, my liver failing, my anemia went for the first 2 years until I ate all fruit. What else? My POTS went, fibromyalgia went, I exercised. The first year of being raw, I wasn't even raw 1 year. I was in the ocean in winter. Mind you, it's not as cold as some places, but still it's winter, it's cold. Like 6 degrees outside. I don't know what the water temperature doesn't get too cold, but it's still, because the outside's cold, you're cold. I swam in the ocean all through winter. Like it's unbelievable, all the physical things. But most of the time I'm alone, and we all are alone. We may talk to people, but we're most of the time in our own head, our own thoughts, our own feelings. That changed. That being, knowing that you are one with the universe, that no matter what, you're being hugged and held, and that all these trivial things that I used to worry about and ruminate about, they're not even in my reality anymore. That part is probably the greatest gift I could give to myself, that anyone can give to themselves, is every time you think, like yesterday. So I find it recently has been harder going out for things like lunch, maybe because it's been like, I'm like, it's been long enough now, like 4 years where you go out for lunches and everyone's having wine and 7 courses they had yesterday, and I had a couple of salads. And there's part of me that is like, you sometimes want to be like everybody else. I wasn't like that at the start, but I think that's because a lot of my memories of doing things and connecting to family weren't there. I wasn't able to access that. So maybe that memory loss really helped me, which you hear a lot of stories of people who lose their memory, being able to do things they couldn't do. But I guess it's my brain protecting me. But now I've got a lot of my memories back, and I remember, even though I was sick, I'd still get up on family days. Well, towards the end, not, but most of it, I'd still get up on a family day, have what everyone else is having, and have a glass of wine and connect to everybody. But I have to remember why I do this. And it's not that I sit there so much and I'm like, it's because I'm physically healthy. Most of the time it's my mind and soul that I'm talking to, that I'm with. So like even on the way home, and I start going, okay, I'll put my because I've been around people who have spoiled themselves for a day, and I've had to say no to a lot of things. So I come home and I got a candle out. I always have a shower, and that's usually in the shower. Well, besides when I get out, and because I wear makeup now, mascara always ends up under my face. Besides, I always shock myself. I do my skincare. I put on some really comfy lounge clothes. I got out, I think it's like Nate's coconut thins, and I've got a Nutella there from the Raw bundle. And so I treat myself. But while I'm doing that, I don't have negative thoughts. I don't have an upset stomach. I don't start ruminating about the next day, because alcohol and rich foods can give you anxiety. So I really sit in that peace. And sorry, back to when I have a shower, that's that time where usually anytime I've had like really heavy foods or had a long day out or had alcohol, it's that time where you're like, oh, and you're trying to sober yourself up. You're trying to kind of fix a mistake, right? So I don't have that. And I really sit in the shower and I'm like, see, I feel good. But most of it isn't thinking about physical ailments. It's thinking about my soul and spirit in, as I said. And so I do have a little bit of food, but then I'll go put on like a podcast or something uplifting on YouTube, and I'm sitting in such a high vibration. And then I got up this morning and I went for a walk, and I think to myself how everyone that has had a really big day is not feeling well right now. And it's not that I want to think badly of people. It's just, I think it's my way of trying to understand why I do what I do, which I think is what each person has to do for themselves. Because if you sit there going, can't have this, can't have that, get home and you're like, oh, got to have this again, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's why I encourage people to level up. Like you don't have to do it all at once. It's a step by step process. So I guess the answer to that question is, I could label all the benefits it had for me, but it's about my soul just knowing it's connected to everything, and loving myself. Because I'm like, you're with yourself all the time. Even when you're around other people, it's your feelings and your emotions that you need to have in check and feel good for your life to start flowing. Even if people don't have pain, their life, physical pain, their life may not flow. So I have a lot of flow in my life, and I love that. So where are we now? What are some common challenges you face as a raw vegan? Well, this is all about interpretation, kind of like I was just saying. And I don't know. So a challenge could have been like I guess lunches, right? But I don't know whether I see them as a challenge. And sometimes I embrace the challenge, because don't discredit the strength that you get from overcoming these things. You see it in everything that you do each day, your ability to take on new tasks because you overcame a challenge, because no one's there. It's just you. Like if I did say to my family, look, I'm going to try ordering some meal, they're not going to stop me. It's only you. And when you start doing it all for you, you stop seeing them as, well, I guess they can still be challenging, but you don't see them as problems. Yes, I mean, I guess it's like that social aspect. I don't really, like, I actually like being out in public now when I smell things I don't want, because they smell quite intense now and chemically. And so that's not really a challenge. It is a challenge in, I think, the relationship sense. Food does connect a lot of people. I'm very connected online to a lot of people, and I love that. And I guess I've made that huge part of my life, because I think you will always meet people that you're resonating with, and they will have similar diets. Even if they're not eating raw, they will be higher plant-based, or even if they're eating meat, they will be eating a lot of very healthy dynamics of food and very healthy structured life. You will just be drawn to very similar people who have really put themselves first. And because, I mean, how hard is it for someone who eats a completely different diet to you, who knows there's a better, like people who eat like a lot of processed food and dense foods and things, they know the person eating the salad is healthier, but they don't want to face that, especially if they're celebrating, or they've worked all week and they want to meet up with someone. Do they want to meet up with someone who they can have a drink with and escape because that's what they want to do? Or they have a drink and you have a salad? But in all honesty, the value I get from eating this way far outweighs anything else. And I always feel like when I connect to friends or family, I come with just so much energy into the whatever space it is, and it's not for as long. So I'm not someone now who, I know I was very sick, but still things could go all day. I used to nap and come back, or rest and come back. Now I will come in, and people don't mind at all that I come in. I might stay probably the max. I mean, yesterday was a long day, but yeah, usually I will go to parties or events and I'll only come for a couple of hours, but I bring like a high energy. So it's not so much about seeing any challenge as a problem. And as you can tell, for me, it's like relationships and socializing more. It's how do I go about doing this so that I feel good for the other, like how many hours are there in a week? The other 22 hours in a day, I want to feel good. There's 2 hours where I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable in this whole week. And then usually I come away and I'm stronger. And usually my memories of the events are a lot better. So although we think, and this is, I actually wanted to bring this up. So I remember sitting in a psych unit and was talking to someone, and they were going to put me back on dexamphetamines again, because at that time I couldn't concentrate and couldn't read. And I was talking to another girl who had been on it for years, and she's been off it and on it. And we both came to the same conclusion. When you look at your life on psych medications or drugs, is those stimulating medications make you think you're doing better. But in hindsight, if I look at when I've been most successful or done the best in my life, I've actually been most connected to nature. Even as a child, when I've been most successful in school, most successful with friendships, most grounded has been off the back of like school holidays spent outside. So I think, and it's like, I think I had to face that journey when I was having, and I don't mind having like an occasional like cacao or matcha, but I was noticing I was starting to think I was doing things faster and more efficiently because I was having one. And that's when I let it go for a period of time, because it just reminded me of the conversation we had where we both looked at our lives. I think there was another girl there, but I can't remember. And we were just assessing how the stimulation effect and the dopamine makes you think you're doing better. But in actual fact, in our experience and my experience, and that like kind of lesson helped me. So it's kind of like a whole lot of, I prefer to not see challenges, but lessons. And when I do these lessons as a raw vegan, I seem to overcome it, as in, not perfectly, there's always a new lesson, but it's not like, I felt like before, the way my life was, I was literally going backwards or round and round and round in circles. I was not getting anywhere. Surgeon cuts out one thing and 3 months later, they've got to cut out another thing. It fixes it, but it comes out somewhere else. So I think it's really important to know the power of overcoming the challenges. I think it's just important to know the power of overcoming any challenges that you have in life. And also just that things like, sometimes we have stimulating things and we think we're doing better, but we just think we're doing better. We aren't actually. If you have to go back and look, I usually look at photos or that period of my life, and what I was doing. Like the time that I did really well as a child, I was like, and I was doing water polo, basketball, touch football, netball, indoor netball, swimming. And I was at like state level for like netball and water polo, and in school, I was like all day. When I wasn't doing that, I was basically outdoors, living on the water. I grew up on the water with no shoes on all day. You don't really eat when you're out in nature as a kid. Like maybe you come back for like, I don't know, a quick Vegemite sandwich. And then you just don't think about food. And then I do think as life goes on, as you get older, you get disconnected from nature. I don't just think that was the whole picture. I think it's a bit of a soul journey. But I guess I'm just singing the praises of nature again. So do raw foods help ADHD? I'm not sure. The one thing I'm not sure improves. This is a really good question. So I will say this. When I first went on the raw foods, and what I noticed is when I was eating like no salt or no spice or no nuts and seeds, and I had to make a website. I decided I was going to make my website, and I decided I'm going to make an ebook. And even Mum said to me, she goes, "You're able to follow things through now." But I wasn't getting everything I needed from those foods. And as soon as my body ends up off keel, it starts to get ADHD symptoms where you start to notice little piles of things. And my gut is never good. Usually I'm more constipated when this occurs. I actually think ADHD is like extreme sensitivity to all energies and frequencies. That we are more likely to feel everything. And when your nerves are kind of fried and not nice and hydrated, or got some fats around the myelin sheath, I think you can be pulled everywhere. No sleep, can't get up, gut's not working. But in actual fact, it's like this great gift that they say people with ADHD were those ultimate like hunter-gatherer type people because they're like able to tune in. So I will say when I have done periods of fruit, I have extreme concentration. That's great. That may come from a hydrated level. But as soon, I will not be getting everything I need. And what I have found is not overeating really helps someone like me, and that could be my gut as well. Getting in omega-3s really helps. Making sure you don't do too much. So I was over-exercising to try and like compensate for my ADHD, which we can tend to do. But I'm better off to go stop, Sky. It's okay to rest. I do notice having things like stimulants actually makes it worse. See, we think it does better. So like I'll have a cacao and I'm only going to have small ones from now on, if I do have one again, is I will get lots of focus. But then for like you keep having it to try and get that back, but you're kind of like, I guess, dehydrated and like even more like stimulated. So I have found like the greens, the balance, not too much sugar. So I think that was also affecting me. When I first had greater success with the ADHD, I wasn't having a huge amount of the fruits. It was more like I was having like tomato and zucchini zoodles or koodles with it. I was having some fruit, but it was more, there was some more veggies at the start. And then I think for me, it's like, and anyone a lot of people say if you get really high on the fruits, you feel like you've got ADHD. And I just think that sometimes when we think we're hydrating, we still need other minerals to help everything absorb. And I think those nerve endings be hydrated. I agree about the ADHD, but then Wendy brought up in the live I did with her, if you guys want to go back and watch that, I kept saying, when my toe broke, I had an ADHD response. I would exercise obsessively, and so that I wouldn't think of I didn't know I'd broken my toe, didn't think of the pain. I started drinking coffee. I just didn't want to feel. And she said, no, that's more likely an ingrained PTSD response. And what I've noticed about ADHD is it's almost like I'm only staying busy not to feel that my gut is inflamed or sore. Or if something triggers you in your life, you become really busy. It is, even psychiatrists say it's an type of anxiety disorder. So it might just be empaths have this ability to keep tapping into frequencies so they don't have to feel the thing they're scared of the most. Because I will say ADHD for me is everything else just kind of fades, or it's very, you can tell, but that ADHD, but I would say it's like a PTSD. So Koala Mama said, I tend to forget the omegas, only recently started getting in choline. That is really important, the choline in the brain. Through cauliflower and sprouts, I agree. I'm sensitive to energies. You will find most people who have ADHD are the most sensitive souls. So that's why this lifestyle is really great for us, because you can tap into frequencies I think we were meant to tap into, which is nature, the wind, the waves, even the breath, slow movement. When you are overstimulated, although I guess what they're trying to do with stimulants, which I just no, is increase dopamine, which increases focus. And also if you're stimulated, it's like, the flight and fight response, but you burn out. You can't not burn out. You've got to find something that grounds you. Ground. And the omega-3s are really grounding. Choline's really good for the brain. It's used as neurotransmitters with the neurotransmitters. But yeah, I always think when you're on this lifestyle, what you're called to, or someone might mention omegas and you're like, you light up, that's when you're not supposed to go down a rabbit hole of like researching everything. Does this mix with that? You're meant to, it's like the universe sending you a signal. You know where omega-3s come from. They come from chia and flax. You can do the flax oil. They're in a better balance in the hemp seed or walnuts, and all of these things are brilliant brain foods. A lot of the other nuts and seeds have a higher amount of omega-6, which does cause more inflammation in the body, but I still don't think it's the same as like charring up a steak and eating that. I don't think like having an avocado, which is higher in omega-6 than 3, is even on the same par. So there's all different levels of this. But I think There was a question I might go to. I think the best thing to do is listen to your calling on this diet. You get very in tune with your body. I reckon most people that come to this diet would have some level of ADHD, because it's like this sensitivity thing where you know your whole life something's not right. More so than others. I think a lot of people can still function and just have no awareness, but people who like really have this knowing that the life they were living was not meant for them, and they come onto this lifestyle and they're like, oh, I get it now. Like I feel like I was supposed to. There was a question on here. Where do I get essential nutrients like B12, iron, and omega-3s? So since I was talking about omega-3s, I had no high level of omega-3 for years because I was more fruitarian. The only fat I really had was avocado. Rarely I had some coconut, but it was mostly avocado. As I said, I ended up with just a whole lot of problems I couldn't pinpoint, like my mast cell just flared up. Omega-3 is great for that. Omega-3 is great for everything. You want the cells of your body to start building the cell walls, which are fatty acids, and the myelin sheath from omega-3s and not from omega-6s or completely omega-6s. Omega-6s seem to, as Dr. Brooke Goldner says, they structure cells like rigid, like everything's like stiff. And that's inflammatory. And when you have more omega-3s in the body, they seem to be more versatile and limber, and things that are meant to go in. And when it's too structured with omega-6, things just come out and they're not supposed to go out. It's very similar to being ungrounded, where you are around alternate currents all the time. And we are like the earth, we're a direct current. We need to get on the earth, because otherwise the red blood cells start to stick together, and the cells of the body, the cell wall, the gates, the channeled gates by like calcium and sodium channels, they start flinging nutrients in and out that they're not meant to. It's like the whole body is unwired. And if you have, I am not an advocate of grounding mats because I had a terrible experience with it. The metal, I'm so sensitive to metal. I literally it's like the metal, maybe I've got metal stuck in my body. I don't know. It's like the metal starts to, if I wear a metal necklace here, I'll slowly start to, until I can't stand up anymore. And the metal on my bed, my hair was falling out because these are copper. The grounding mat's copper predominantly. Originally when I get on, because I used to say I love my grounding mat, but then the metal sensitivity builds in for me. You cannot do better than even after, oh, did I do it this morning? I didn't. Usually after my run or walk, or as soon as I go outside, even if it's raining, I will take my shoes off and walk on the grass. As soon as you get on the grass, you get free electrons up into your body and you start grounding. I cannot tell you how much better you feel when you're like, I'm in Bali and I'm literally barefoot all day in a swimming costume. I've got the sun and I've got electrons and I'm eating fruit. You're so grounded. So I've gone a bit off there, but I really am a big advocate for like all this free stuff you guys can get. Just get yourself out and take your salad, your dinner out in nature, get your shoes off. It's all that stuff. It's so weird that all this money was spent to try and heal me, but that's what healed me, all this stuff that's really free. So the omega-3s, I went off a bit there. They are very anti-inflammatory to the body. And when my gut was not good, I was doing omega-3 oil, a really good quality that comes in the fridge. So it's stable and not rancid and not acidic on the body. Sorry, I've gone off there. I saw Koala Mama said, my mother just gave me grounding shoes. I haven't been as committed to do this yet. So she walks barefoot everywhere. I actually walk barefoot most places. I actually find it really intense when you walk barefoot. It's like a different level. You don't realize how disconnected you are. I remember telling people with my groundedness, when I went to a stage of having really bad mast cell flare-ups, and the only thing which would stabilize these rashes would be getting outside. I literally one time could barely breathe, and I had to get to my niece's netball game, and I just knew I felt better with no shoes on. So I got to her game and stood with no shoes. Within 15 minutes, all my symptoms were gone. And I would, during this time as well, I'd walk to the beach, go for a swim. It's very different, the soles, than I think the body, because I'd come back up and there'd be no chatter in my head, because it's really inflammatory being ungrounded and having like your body around all this stuff. And so I'd walk another lap around the block, just on people's, and this is like a footpath, but people have little grass strips out the front. And by the time I finish, I swear to God, it's like you've got no chatter. You're just good. So my greatest suggestion to people is, if I could bottle that and give that away, get people outside, get your bottom on the ground, get your feet on the ground. And yes, I have to do the grounding shoes. I haven't been I've always just kind of veered away. I'm like, am I going to start running in them and hurt myself? So, but I need to do that too. Okay, so yeah, so omega-3s are really good. Someone's asked about the B12. Now, my body is missing most of the stomach, duodenum, and top of intestines. Most of the B12 is absorbed in the duodenum and top intestinal area. Missing that part, I have always injected my whole life. Now, I'm going to try this time to let it go. I don't know. I get to these stages and something in my body is not right. And I'm like, oh, it must be B12. And then I go and they're like, why did you inject? It's through the roof. And so I have injected probably 4 times since being raw, but I do have nutritional yeast now. Now, many people do not like nutritional yeast. I actually don't think it's so much the B12 my body craves it for. I do notice, because it's full of B vitamins and I don't supplement, I do notice I have this energy burst when I first have it, and then I have this calmness. Do I have it every day? No. It's probably once every couple of weeks. And I know lots of people don't like it, and you make your decision there, but I have nutritional yeast and injections. And the reason I don't take supplements is because they don't work when you're missing the part of your stomach, which apparently absorbs. I think the reason, and I know, so I've seen many different things about B12, but from what I understand, it's a bacteria that should be found around grasses and things like that. It's not even on the food or the dirt, but it's actually kind of like just off. And the way that like vegetables are washed and processed now, we just don't get an abundance. And plus we're not out grounding, we're not picking it up. We do absorb things, like go in the ocean, you're going to absorb all those minerals through your skin, more so like when you consume very quickly, don't consume a lot. But if you spend a day, like imagine, I don't know, our ancestors at some time were just barefoot all day. They're not going to have B12 supplements or injections. So what was the other? Iron. Okay, so my iron, people ask me a lot, how did I heal my anemia? And a lot of what I did when I first started, and the first part of my fruitarian type journey, if that's what you want to call it, was raw vegan still, because there's still some veggies. I like to think of fruitarian as just fruit, but it was very, very high fruit. But at the start, I was still having greens and I was still having more veggies. And then when I spent like a year just doing it was like grapes and more watermelon and persimmons and dates and just the really sweet fruits, it tanked. But I do think there's something to do with having the citrus, like the lemon, in your lemon ginger blast with like something like spinach, which is high in iron. I've actually got a whole folder I can put here in the comments if I can know that. Yep, here it is. On foods. Oh, no, that's not actually it. Let me go find it just quickly for you. I have a whole folder on the raw foods which are high in iron. And so have those, but also this, why I call it a folder, because there's also I think it's just a PDF, because on the PDF is also foods that are high in vitamin C, because you need to combine them. Iron crosses with vitamin C. So let me see if I can find this. Low iron, how I healed. What's this? Where is iron? Let me see if I can find it. Here. Okay, so I don't know why it's not where the folder is. Here. I'll find the folder. Okay, it's not working. Let's see if I can just share it with you guys, just this sheet. Yeah, this has all the fruits, the vegetables. Yeah, I'll just share this sheet with you guys. So this should make sure you have, so usually I hand out a folder, so if I update anything, and I hand them out in my free community, which I can put the link down here if you want to join my free community. I hand out things like this all the time, like when I'm going through wanting high estrogen foods, and things like that. But that document there is that I've just posted is all the high iron raw foods. And that one's my community because there's like all different things that I hand out in that as well. Yeah, but I think what is really important is, and I think I mentioned this, I was talking to Freely, and Freely is like, when you have a lot of fruit, it's really high in vitamin C. So any iron you consume will just cross the gut. And that's why I think it works for me. Like nothing works. Like even when I was eating meat, they say that's like the most readily available iron. It's heme iron. But I didn't do anything, just still needed infusion. So I've only needed one infusion in 4 years, just tested my iron again. It stayed high, like really high. Like it's 87 something. So usually within less than 6 months, my iron tanks out when I was eating like paleo. So nuts, seeds, fruit, and meat. Now it's stayed up. So I think there's a truth to that getting like a lot of the, like at night having lemon over your spinach, or there's other foods here, which guava's got a huge amount. Bell peppers, oh, there's vitamin C, sorry, wrong. Okay, like it says dried apricots, prunes, spinach, kale. What are some big ones here? Pumpkin seeds have a lot. Actually, when my iron was low, I was craving them. Parsley has a lot. I think you have to eat a lot because these are by milligrams. But don't be scared by these amounts being much smaller than meat, because the power is in what you consume them with, like the citrus or the guava or anything high in vitamin C. So that's that. Now, I know someone asked me as well about protein. How do you ensure, in a different question, you get enough protein? So it depends what your goal is. So when I first went on this raw lifestyle, my goal was to just get well and just be not like find myself, be clear, be connected to the universe. And that involved really just fruits, like a lot of fruit and some greens, some veggies, but mostly like just fruits. And then I think I got to that problem where the universe is calling me back down, where I needed a more stable diet. And at this point, I literally craved green juices, lentils, pumpkin seeds, walnuts. There's the whole amino acid complex of essential amino acids in a lentil. I don't have them as much anymore. I think my body goes through phases, but I would suggest arming yourself with knowing all the raw foods. Like maybe you want to do fruits for now, and maybe you want to do veggies, or maybe you're going through a stage where, I don't know, you're all greens. I can promise you that I feel like the best way to survive on this diet, and you may not be eating this all the time, and I'm not, I'm changing all the time, but knowing there's seaweeds, knowing there's sprouts, knowing there's microgreens, knowing there's nuts, there's seeds, there's fermented foods, there's fruits, there's veggies, there's leafy greens, there's like, and then you've got like things you can say like juices, which can make them like really intense. Even like you can do small amounts of juice of like turmeric or greens. There's fermented sauces. I feel like, and this is why I think the raw vegan bundle is so good, is the more you know about what people's options are, it doesn't mean you have to do them, but when you know and your body starts tapping at you, like, as I said, like I've done high fruits, and I've done, then I did like green juices, like nonstop, and my iron was low. So that makes sense. And then what have I done? Now I've got very balanced, smaller meals, but I think my system's running quite efficiently. I went through a period where everything had to be omega-3s. And I just think but don't think you have to include it all. Like I feel like your body will tell you. Of course, one thing I do think is I try to get a blood test every year. And how that has run since starting. So when I first went raw, I got a blood test, and the greatest thing was everything was still low, but it was moving up within just 4 weeks or something. This is when I got myself well really quickly. Everything was moving up. A year later, I completely healed my anemia. All my blood markers and proteins were back up. My liver's functioning was still a little bit low. Following year, so we're 2 years in now, because I had one when I first started, 1 year in, 2 years in, perfect blood test. And that was when I had been doing no salt, no nuts or seeds, but I had been having most of it had been fruit, but there were greens and veggies. And then after this year is when I did all the grapes and all the watermelon and all the mangoes, and no greens at night, just zucchinis and tomatoes if I was going to have savory. And then I ended up with shingles, and I ended up with mast cell and histamine issues. And then I ended up with like these blood sugar issues, and this is when my iron tanked out. I believe fruit is the optimal delivery system, easy to digest. Do I think fruit has everything in it? No. But I also feel it's like this calling. The universe like pulls you back down and has some lessons to teach you. So don't beat yourself up. You were always destined to learn them. And then I had a blood test recently, and all my blood works perfect. All of it's perfect. I'm just thinking through, was there anything? No, it was all perfect. Oh, my B12 was really high because I had an injection. And that was it. So, and the iron has stayed up as well. But one of the greatest things I do is, and I always kind of did this, is when I went up into the fruit, I never planned to stay there. I planned to get well. And I always looked at everyone's recipes and like the bundle and what other people were doing. And I was like, that's what I felt I wanted to live, like live in that element. But I feel like my savior is knowing all the different raw things that you can put in your body. That has been like a savior. So we're getting on here. I'll answer 2 more questions. Have you experienced any detox symptoms or detoxifying during your journey? Okay, so here's my thing about detox. This is the mindset I came into this lifestyle with. So remember, I've been very sick and healed myself of the 32 years of chronic illness. I've got organs removed. The surgery is now stopped. I've come off smoking, stopped drinking, stopped medication. I'm having just raw food. And even though everything healed, the most predominant thing is the positivity. How I just kept feeling good. How everything felt like love. How the voice in my head spoke to me in love. How I enjoyed the foods I ate. I must have been sitting at a level, especially at the start, which really suited me, where there was like nuts and seeds and veggies. There was a little bit of fruit and there was salads. And every time I ate all this food, I will say I still ate very simply. There was no blender. I didn't have a blender or any of that, just a chopping board. A lot of it was eaten very simply. And it really shocked me when I came into the community and could understand what was going on. And people like, you're supposed to go through this like horror period, like this detox, this letting go. And I knew that everything I'd done in my life had been like that. Like people hand you diets, naturopaths, nutritionists, and it all been like a horror show. And so when I get adverse, I get really sensitively adverse. I'm like, I find any way not to do something that makes me feel like crap. So one of the greatest things about this lifestyle was that I could feel like I was a good person. I was good. I was positive. I was loving. I loved it all. And I just don't think I would have sustained it, maybe never gone back to it if I'd come in and someone had kind of shocked me again. And so that really surprised me because this whole thing was about me building me. And this is why I always say is you're better to chip away with where you're at. Like wherever you're at, level up, but keep yourself feeling good and motivated and positive, because I feel like any shock can deter people. I'll give you an example. It's even like this raw vegan bundle can be like a lot. It's a huge, like can be a stress because you've got to do like a lot of content. And I started to notice myself trying to avoid it. And so because the stress is in it. So anything that has a stress level, and then so this time I spoke about this in one of the lives, how this time I've done lots of content, but in the middle of the day I have a nap, and in the afternoon I make everything switch off. I don't keep going. So I feel like I learnt that lesson, but I notice how much I start to avoid things, and then my brain turns them into thinking they're not going to be a good experience, where I think it's really important to keep it good, keep you good. You are good. You've done amazing wherever you are with that food journey. As for detox symptoms, a lot of people will write to me and say, you got shingles, that's detox. All the mast cell symptoms, they're detox. Whether they are or not, I didn't want to sit there. I'm quite happy to have some omegas and be laughing again. I don't want to still keep going years. I don't know how long it takes. And I was aging really fast, and I put hormone replacement therapy back in, just estrogen, which can be really, what's the word? Can't think of the word. It can be really, I can't think of the word, but nurturing, or really stops a lot of problems, basically. So it stops people getting heart problems, aging fast, skin kind of pain, tightness. My mood is a lot better. So I kind of feel like I cleared out my system to a level I'm comfortable with. And now I just have I get to choose what I put in, and everything that comes in can feel very strong, and then I get to pick whether it stays or not. But I'm like the happiest I've been. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so balanced. Eating smaller meals, having a really big variety of lots of different types of raw foods, and the omegas. And I went through a stage of having like higher protein. I spoke about protein before in like lentils. I also did a stage where I did protein powders. Don't really do them anymore. So there's another thing you can use when you need protein or amino acids for a period of time. So I kind of feel like I just want to sit in this space of joy and happiness and creativity and create my life and share. And I can't do that when I feel like crap. So that's my take on it. But it's everyone sees it differently. But and I'll do one more. What advice would you give to someone considering switching over to a raw vegan lifestyle? I feel like I've covered it, but I feel like this is a good note to end on, is do you. Like, literally, it can seem, just imagine how fulfilled you'll be, even if it takes a year or 2 years and you're doing more whole foods and high raw, and you eventually get there. How rewarded you feel, like when you've actually done all the work. You don't want to be sitting in a space, as I said, where you're eating a lot of processed food and you go raw and it's like you're sitting in shock and fear and you don't know whether you like it, and you feel so lonely. And it's better to just find a way to make it work for you. And for me, it's like balanced and recipes and being online and talking to people and being out in nature. Nature is going to be your best friend. If you're going to go raw, take every meal outside. If you eat every raw meal outside, I reckon you're going to get to being a raw vegan faster. It's like everything just starts talking to you. You feel amazing. That's like the advice I'd give to someone. So I hopefully will get that frozen. And I know a lot of you are probably going to bed soon. And if you haven't checked out the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, it's only on for 3 hours and 50 minutes. Is you can get the Raw Vegan Bundle. It's got 32 contributions, all new content. My new ebook Dinners is in it. I made the date bark, the Middle Eastern date bark. That's in it. I will put this down here one more time. I don't know whether that will come up. Bundle. And I've got a lot of lives and podcasts and stuff planned for next week, but the rest of this week I might pop back on. And knowing me, I'll probably pop back on. But I hope you've enjoyed the bundle series, guys, and see you around. Bye.